Summertime thriller book recommendations. Hi guys, my name is Sharon and today I have some more thriller book recommendations for the summer. I did a video previously already a bunch of weeks ago, but I realised I had a lot more to add to the list. Some of these I've also read recently. I am so hot right now. We're currently going through another heat wave in the UK. It's only 9 a.m, but I am so hot. So I may look okay, but inside I'm melting. I'll link my previous summertime thriller book recommendations video down below. But in this one I have 13 more book recommendations. First book is No Escape by Lucy Clarke. In my previous video I also had 2 Lucy Clarke book recommendations because they are just so good at writing destination thrillers. This book was first originally published as The Blue, but at some point they changed the name. Here you have 2 best friends who leave their life behind in the UK to go travelling around Southeast Asia. They then befriend a group of people whilst abroad, and these guys sail around and live aboard a yacht, and they both get invited to join the group. This thriller has dual timelines. In the past timeline you see these 2 girls join this group and what the whole group dynamic is like. And in the present day, disaster has struck on board the yacht, but you have no idea what's happened. A bit like their other books, The Surf House and One of the Girls, this book also is kind of slow burn. A lot of this story takes place on the yacht and also in the Philippines as well, so you really get summer vibes. Second book, The Night She Vanished by Wendy Dranfield. This is a small town psychological thriller set in the summertime. Our protagonist is estranged from her family, but she decides to return back to her hometown after her younger sister goes missing, and her estrangement from her family stems from when she was a teenager. Her best friend actually went missing back in the day, and she also suspected her father had something to do with it, and now it seems like history is repeating itself and her parents seem really suspicious. This one is also kind of slow burn, but it's well worth it for the twists. It was really atmospheric and tense. Read this if you're looking for a good underrated thriller. Next book, Such a Nice Girl by Andrea. This is a new release from Andrea for this year. It's set in Dublin the day after a fancy family wedding, and you know, summer is peak wedding season. You have 2 women who are mothers and best friends, and they both have 20-something-year-old daughters who are also best friends. Their daughters are both sharing a room for this wedding, but the morning after the big day, they find their daughter's room empty, things have been smashed, there's blood on the carpet, and they also discover that one of the daughters called 999 and seemingly one of them was trying to unalive the other. This is also another slow burn thriller. You're following the mums as they try to get to the bottom of this, and neither want to believe that their daughter could have been the one who was trying to unalive the other. They both want to think that their own daughter was the victim instead, and so there's a bit of tension there between the 2 mothers. There's quite a bit of drama in this one. I do think that the big plot twist was kind of complicated to wrap my head around, but for the most part I did enjoy all the drama. Next book, It's Not Her by Mary Kubica. This is a book that was released earlier this year. This one takes place at the lakes during a family holiday, and there are dual timelines and dual POVs, which Mary Kubica always does really well. In present day, you're following Courtney, a mother who during this vacation finds out that her brother and sister-in-law have been unalived inside their lakeside cottage, and their teenage daughter, Courtney's niece, has gone missing. You're also following the niece's POV, but in the past timeline, during the days leading up to this unaliving. I wasn't really on board with the plot twist, but I think I'm in the minority because I know so many people love this plot twist. But Mary Kubica does write really gripping thrillers. Don't Believe It by Charlie Donlea. I went through a Charlie Donlea era, I think, last year, and I read so many of their books in a really short period of time, to the point where all the books have kind of blended into one, but this one is definitely my favourite. You're following Sydney, who is making a real-time documentary on a cold case about a woman called Grace Siebold, who has been in prison in St Lucia for about a decade now, and she was convicted of unaliving her boyfriend. But as Sydney is digging into this old case and making this documentary, she's uncovering that there were probably some issues with the original trial, and you're just wondering the whole time if Grace was or wasn't innocent. I always love a Charlie Donlea thriller. Twisted by Steve Cavanagh. I love Steve Cavanagh. I think I would actually consider this one of my all-time favourite thrillers. I do love Kill for Me, Kill for You just a little bit more. And I know that and the Eddie Flynn series are a lot more popular, but Twisted deserves just as much love. This one's also set in the summertime, and it's one of those thrillers where the least you know going into it, the better. In fact, you should really know nothing about it and just go into it blind. But if you do want to know a bit about it, it's basically about this best-selling crime author called J.T. LeBeau, and people suspect that the unalivings that this author writes about in his books are actually committed by him himself. And also, no one actually knows the identity of J.T. LeBeau. The way this thriller unfolds is a wild ride, and I think that's all you really need to know about this. The plot twists were so good. The Night Swim by Megan Goldin. This is a thriller with a podcast trope. You're following a really popular true crime podcaster called Rachel, who's investigating an SA case in a small town. A swimmer who is an Olympic hopeful has been accused of SAing the police chief's granddaughter, and this case has really divided the town. Meanwhile, in Rachel's own personal life, she finds a note stuck to her car which is begging her to look into a case for someone else, and she starts getting stalked. This story is heavily inspired by the Chanel Miller and Brock Turner case, so the themes of this book are a lot heavier. Next book, The Holiday by M Logan. Here you have 4 women who have been lifelong best friends, and they're all going on holiday together with their families, their husbands and children, and they're staying in a luxury villa in the south of France. One of these women, she's called Kate, she finds out that her husband is cheating on her. And who is the woman he's having an affair with? It must be one of her 3 friends. Another destination thriller, and this one is full of secrets and tension. Next book, Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. This is another new release of this year, and I recently just finished it the other day. I've only read one other Taylor Adams book, which is No Exit, and I really liked that one. And like No Exit, this is a survival thriller as well. You have 2 best friends, Tess and Ali, who go caving together. Ali is a really successful big-time travel influencer, and Tess is a bit quieter. She's a legal assistant who is kind of struggling to pay for law school. She's never actually been caving before. This is her first time, and she kind of has a bit of claustrophobia, but somehow Ali, who is an experienced caver, is it called caver? Cave explorer? But anyway, Ali is experienced and she somehow convinces Tess to go with her. Tess's first time is not turning out to be a good one because the 2 girls soon realise they're being followed by a stranger and he starts harassing them. Why anyone would want to go caving, I really don't know. But if you read this, you're going to have a tense, claustrophobic time. Next book, Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This thriller takes place predominantly on a boat and also on a deserted island. The main character Lux has escaped to Hawaii with her boyfriend, and they want to sail the world on his boats, but they're kind of stuck in Hawaii trying to earn enough money to fund their boat's repairs. Then one day her boyfriend meets these 2 women who offer them $50,000 to take them to this remote deserted island in the South Pacific. This island has a lot of dark history, including rumours of cannibalism and unalivings. And of course, whilst they're on this boat and on this deserted island, they are off the grid and cut off from human civilization. And they might not be the only ones on this deserted island. I will say this was a very slow thriller, and I feel like a lot of the action didn't actually happen until the very final portion of this book. But read if you want summertime vibes and an isolated setting. Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Caine. Here you have a woman who's a mother and a wife, and her whole life basically shatters when she finds out that her husband is a serial unaliver, and she genuinely had no idea. He gets convicted and sent to prison. She gets acquitted, but of course her life comes crashing down. She is constantly being harassed and threatened by online trolls who don't believe that she's innocent, so she has to uproot her whole life, move homes, and assume new identities with her children. She will do anything to protect her kids, so unfortunately this does mean her and her children can't really live the most normal life. She's scared to let anyone in to get close to them, and she puts measures in place to make sure that they don't get harassed or stalked ever again. I really liked this one. I liked the pacing, the setting, and the plot was pretty interesting. This one is actually part of the series, but I haven't got around to reading the sequel yet. Next book, Don't Tell by Mary Stone and Matt Giegerich. This is a psychological thriller that's set at a camp, and camps are definitely more of an American thing, but it always screams summer to me. This is about a counsellor called Lizette, and she works at a camp which is a retreat for troubled teens. She seemingly has this really perfect life. She has a really rewarding job, and she has a loving husband. Then one day a pregnant teenage girl joins the camp, and Lizette suspects that the father of this baby is a much older man, and this resurfaces Lizette's own traumatic past, and her life starts slowly unraveling. This thriller has a lot of gaslighting, red flags and secrets, which does make it kind of infuriating to read, but also pretty interesting. I really liked this thriller. I did see some of the plot twists coming, but I don't think this affected my enjoyment of it. I don't know if I would necessarily call this fast-paced, but it really didn't feel slow at all. It was definitely a page-turner. Oh my god, I'm so hot. I'm literally like sweating. And the 13th and final book, The Fix by Sheridan. This is a pretty dark thriller. This story does have two main characters, and it does have a bit of a time jump. It starts off with them as teenagers, but then it jumps into their adulthood as well. And the story does start off in the summertime. You have the two main characters, Rex and Caine. Caine is this really beautiful, popular girl in high school, and she's from a pretty wealthy family as well. And then you have Rex, who is kind of the opposite. He's a bit of a loner type, and he's actually kind of in love with Caine, but they're not really friends, so he's kind of just loving her from afar. Then one day he finally gets the chance to speak with her, but then later that night on the same day, Caine's home has a really tragic home invasion. This changes the trajectory of Caine's life forever, but it also changes Rex's. Trigger warning for SA. I really feel like we could have done without that scene, but apart from that, I did really enjoy this thriller. This thriller has a bit of everything. It's high stakes, it has suspense, action, romance, and also I don't really ever see anyone talk about this one either. It's definitely a really good underrated thriller. So those were my 13 book recommendations. I'm so happy that I've come to the end of filming this video. I can't wait to open a window and turn on my fan. But if you liked this video, please give it a like or subscribe. It would really help the channel out. I mostly post video recommendations and reading wrap-ups. I read mostly thrillers, but I do read a lot of other genres as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.